Alrighty, so let's talk about Eyes of Wakanda, the new animated MCU miniseries that just dropped on Disney Plus. And I've got to be honest, because I'm in this weird place with it, because on one hand it's really good and I actually enjoyed most of what I was watching, but on the other hand it also kind of feels kind of pointless, and not in a bad way necessarily. It's just that when you tell me that we're going to get a show about Wakanda set before the events, first Black Panther hundreds of years ago, something like that, I thought that we were going to get something a little bit more massive, a foundational piece of lore. But instead, what we got was this 4-episode anthology-style series. It's a mini-series and probably a one and done. I think it's a mini-series. So, with that, let's dive into it, because there is a lot to appreciate here, especially the animation, the fight choreography, and the character work. Even if the plot never quite hits as hard as it could have on some episodes, I'm going to break down my thoughts episode by episode, and then give you guys a final score at the end. So with that, let's get right into it. Starting with episode 1, the first episode kicks things off with a really cool premise. We follow this woman who was going to become a Dora Milaje until it turns out that she's not exactly great at teamwork. She's got her own way of doing things, very lone wolf. So instead of joining the elite ranks, she is then tasked with a different kind of mission, retrieving a stolen Wakandan artifact. And really, that's what this whole show's about. Wakandans being sent across the world, across time even, which you'll find out about, to retrieve artifacts that were taken from them long ago. And immediately I had questions. How did these artifacts even get stolen in the first place, especially from a nation that's supposed to be sealed off and unknown to the outside world? And that's one of the things the show doesn't really get into, and I kind of wish that it did. I thought that this show would explore, that origin, like how Wakanda ended up needing to go on these missions in the first place. But it's more focused on the missions themselves, and that said, the first episode is pretty solid. We get a strong central character, great action, and some subtle commentary on Wakanda's darker corners. It's a great introduction. Even like that, in this show, or in this episode I should say, there's a fight scene, lots of blood, lots of violence, showing people get daggers in their chest, because animated, so they're kind of going that extra route. Now, episode 2 is my favorite episode of the series. This is without a doubt basically Troy. So you've got Odysseus, Achilles, the whole mythological crew, but then there's a twist because you have Wakanda involved. And it's not played for laughs or a gimmick. It's actually pretty awesome. The animation pop, the fight scenes are slick. This episode really blends mythology with Marvel lore in a way that just kind of works. And this is where the show is at its peak. This kind of world building where we see Wakandans interacting with ancient civilizations is pretty clever in unexpected ways. And we get a fun little connection back to episode 1 because we see an older version of a character that we met in episode 1, almost like a brief cameo. That was a nice touch that helped anchor this timeline a little bit and find out where we're at. If the whole series had kept this level of creativity and polish, I feel like it could have easily been a 9 or 10. But then we got to the remainder 2 episodes. Alright, now this is the episode that everybody was hyping up, episode 3, because Iron Fist shows up. And yeah, Iron Fist does show up, and Iron Fist is cool. But honestly, this is my least favorite episode. It's not that it's bad, because it's still well animated, still well acted, and has solid action. It's just that it doesn't hit the same highs as the first 2. There's not really a whole lot of emotional core. They try to do some of that, but it feels very muddled. And even though Iron Fist is there for a reason, it kind of takes focus off Wakanda for a while. Also, it just kind of feels more disconnected throughout compared to other episodes. This is where that anthology format definitely starts to work against the show, because we're jumping through time and characters so quickly that emotional momentum never really has time to build up, because in Disney Plus fashion, these are about 20 minutes apiece. Now, the final episode is pretty nuts and it's crazy, and I won't spoil too much here because it does go into some wild territory, especially for MCU implications. But let's just say a certain person shows up, and the implications of that are kind of huge when you think about it. And I'll leave it vague, but this episode definitely leans very heavy into the sci-fi Wakanda side of things. And I actually pretty much respected that, because it's definitely the most final feeling episode in the series, so I'm glad that it definitely came last. If you didn't know the order of the first 3, it really wouldn't matter. You could watch shows whatever order. But episode 4 is definitely your closer. It's really good. It's not great, it's weird and cool, but the character work isn't as strong, I feel like, in this one. It's more about blowing your mind with implications and telling a really great character story. And I feel like, once again, that's because these are 20 minutes. If this was 30, 40 minutes, could have got some character development. But Eyes of Wakanda is kind of a mixed bag, because it's really interesting on one hand. On the plus side, the animation's really great. It's really unique. The style, it stands out kind of from What If. The fight scenes are really great, and the animation style they chose, the character work, especially in episodes 1 and 2, are pretty solid. The historical and mythological settings are fun and fresh for the MCU. But on the downside, there's no, overarching focus. This is more of a collection of standalone missions, which I'm not taking points off for because this is an anthology. But the runtime with these being 20 minutes makes that kind of a problem. And because of that, it feels like a missed opportunity to really dive into Wakanda's ancient history or its secrecy. And look, if this gets another season, then cool. We could have this being that, but I really don't think it is. I'm pretty sure, I need to check, I think it's a miniseries, that, they built a solid foundation here, and, I hate to know if it's a one-and-done series, because it's not bad. I feel like there is a lot of underused potential here, but it's still really, really good. And so with that, despite my few complaints, I'm going to give Eyes of Wakanda a 7.5 out of 10. It's solid. There's a great action scenes, great lore here, especially if you're an MCU fan or into Black Panther or want a different look at Wakanda's legacy without involving Black Panther. This is a big lore drop and a must-see, and for that, I'm glad that it exists. I just wish that there was more of it, either longer episodes out of the 4 or more episodes. Anyways, that's my take on Eyes of Wakanda, so let me know what you guys thought of it on its own, maybe each episode. How do you rank the episodes? Because I would probably say 2-1, 4-3. Did you vibe with the format? Or were you hoping for something more connected like me? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this, and I will catch you guys in the next one. And don't forget, Wakanda forever.
Is essential to Wakanda security.